little bit, we're going to be reading off these things. So,
I'm going to turn the music off.
okay. Well, hi everyone. My name is Christopher Stephen Jacobs, and I have been psychically inclined all of my life. My guides made themselves known to me at the age of 5. When I was younger, they came to me in dreams as well as my imaginary friends. Sometimes we just played and others showed me things, took me places, and educated me on how our unseen world looked and worked. It was hard for me because I thought everyone saw the world this way. I grew up going to Catholic school, and their doctrine certainly did not agree with my perspective, so it was challenging. I was not alone. My mother, Katrina, was also born with these gifts. So as you can imagine, our after-dinner conversations are not quite like most families. We have always had guides and different people come to speak to us. My skills took a great leap after an accident where I was struck by a car while walking across the street. I was technically deceased for approximately 1 hour, but to me it was in a new place surrounded by guides for 2 weeks. When I woke back here, it was a surprise to the ambulance staff. After a few months of being a jumbled mess, my traditional psychic skills of a medium, which were beforehand, enhanced to talking to the greater galactic community. I also learned how to bilocate, heal others by removal of oppressive technology, heal others by delivering healing energy, and learn to interface in a defensive way, in a posture when needed. Since 2013, I have been speaking on multiple shows giving information on my understanding of the world around us. I was quite hesitant to do this, but I had a lot of support from my family and guides. In 2015, Joanna Michaels came into my life. Joanna's calling began in her adult life. Her psychic abilities turned on in childhood, or adulthood, excuse me. I misread that. She always had a strong intuition, but her abilities to have visions and see entities did not come until the last 7 years or so. Up until that point, she was always called to be within the medical field and spent many years as more of an educator. It became an easy transition to take those skills she acquired over the years and now transition them into this all-important area of all of our lives. She is a vital part of getting this information across in an understandable manner. In the medical field, Joanna referred to a third of who we are as the psychosocial side of ourselves. And although it was known to be so important, even the medical world did not truly know how to fully integrate this into the medical model. Our belief is because it would require a conversation of who we really are, energetic beings, and how we are really masters of creation. And this was not a conversation that was ready to be had. But more people are now open to this conversation. So we were called to forward it to truly help people become more whole and realize that they can truly take charge of their own lives and create the world as they want, thereby becoming more sovereign and able to be co-creative in the way that benefits all of us. In this talk, we wish to give a synopsis of our understanding of the bigger picture of why we are here and the actual world around us and how the actual world is around us, and not just seen by our normal vision. Much is currently unknown by the mass population, and we feel it is time to share our understanding. Unfortunately, greed and the desire to dominate and control have overshadowed the goodness of mankind for some time now. And now is the time to shed light on it all so that people can take back their power and become the sovereign beings we were meant to be. In January 2017, we began a website called Lifting. And here is our mission statement. It is our hope that you will find inspiration, peace, and a better understanding of what is occurring in our world in this day and age and how we can successfully navigate through it. In order to understand our talks, website, and works, you need to know our perspective about humanity's journey. be it personal, societal, or as a whole, as well as our perspective on non-earthly or earthly beliefs, be it ghosts, guides, or the galactics. We believe we are living in unprecedented times, a time where individuals can rise in vibration and gain more mastery of the world around them, as well as our slow introduction into the cosmic community. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Joanna.
Okay, so I'm going to basically pretty quickly go over some points that kind of give you an understanding of where we're coming from. Some things you may have heard before, but probably many you may not have heard before, but it gives a good perspective on where we come from and what we feel now is important to help people understand. Some of the things that we may talk about actually can invoke concern and or fear and or uncertainty in people. It really can. However, that's not the goal and has never been the goal. The goal has always been empowerment. Some of the things that we talk about, they're not brand new. They're things that have been around since humanity's been around. However, people didn't know. And so with the knowledge, people have a better ability to make informed decisions and consents on what they want to happen in their life. And the goal is always empowerment, because we are meant to move forward in a way where we're more powerful and more attuned with our own co-creative abilities. So again, I just kind of stress that there's nothing negative really here. We just want to inform to empower, and I just want to put that out there first. But one of the first, if you would want to call it tenets or beliefs, is that we are not here by happenstance at all. This is a learning environment. And that's really important to know, because even in scientists, there's like this, again, the Big Bang, poof, we just happen to be here. But our belief system is that's not true at all. It's not a mistake. It's not, and we are here basically to learn. And within our universe, just like in other universes out there, it was created by entities with a consciousness. So again, no mistake whatsoever. We believe the suns of the planets are also real entities, and that they are very high dimensional beings. They have names, and the universal creators and the celestials usually work together to give souls a desired learning experience. So we talk about in general the energy that runs through all of it, for us, for the space between us, everything, that there is that energy and that creative spark, and all of that energy and that creative spark is the same. Now we refer to that as the source, or the true benevolent source creator. And we say that because it created or manifested or birthed all that is within, including us, so that we're all a part of something else. In general, we say that the source is actually neutral. And this, again, may be a conflicting statement with certain religious perspectives. But the source energy itself is neutral. The experience within it may give you a perception of whether or not something is good or bad or righteous, and we'll talk about that more later. And the source is not the god or gods usually mentioned within some of this religious doctrine. Now, we will say that because there are certain religions around the world, when you say God, and they're monotheistic, and so it's like there's just one God. But other religions are going to talk about many different ones that they refer to as gods. So in order to utilize the concept of something that encompasses all of that conversation, that's where we use the word source or true benevolent source creator to mean that type of energy or that type of being. So again, and that type of being kind of split itself into billions and billions of different individual souls. And so again, we are all part of that. So the source is fine with beings within itself putting together some sort of learning curriculum, and also meaning that when you are considered individualized from source, although that's really not true, but just that perception, you no longer have that perspective of knowing all. So part of our journey, again, is always to see, can we have different experience, can we forget our origination point so that we can have certain experiences? And will that lead to greater expanse of the whole? And that's really what's behind it all. Believe it or not, the source is challenging the source itself to see, do I know it all or is there more? And one of the ways that actually occurs is by having experiences that, is felt through all of us to see, is expansion even possible? So that is, I think, an interesting then thought process, because everyone has always been taught that the source knows all, period, end of statement. But yet the source is challenging that to see, is it possible to even learn more? And so it's a different thought process, again, on why we're here and what we're doing. So another premise is that Earth humans have a unique DNA with free will and co-creative abilities. And so again, we are actually souls that kind of plug in to this skin suit. I think everyone can easily accept that somewhere along the line when a woman is pregnant, a soul plugs into it. Some people believe it's the time of conception. Some people believe it's the time of quickening when they feel the baby move. But we're just saying that we believe it can actually happen in all kinds of different processes and all kinds of different times. But yes, the soul, the essence of who we are, kind of plugs itself into the body, and then our learning experience is going to be had a lot through this body that we're utilizing for a lifetime and or many lifetimes, different bodies, to enhance ourselves and gain knowledge. Another premise is that we are not alone, and that's really important. There is more here on Earth and more beyond Earth that many know about or see. And there are many different races and cultures out in the vastness of space, some within the same confines of our school system, and some that are in their own school system set up so far away you can't even imagine, with their own learning curriculums and own learning experiences. Now, and there are more species and cultures on this planet that consider this planet their home than we currently see with our current visuals. And so that would account for, I'll give you the example of the Sasquatch or Bigfoot, that people are so confused, that why aren't they finding remains? Why aren't they being able to catch them? Why are they seeing them and then they're gone? So part of the discussion that we have, along with the fact that we're energetic beings, is about frequency and about how some beings actually have the ability to move their frequency, thus they can become visible for a moment and then not visible. And a lot, believe it or not, of the actual ones that are, believe it or not, seen, a lot of them are adolescents. And their adolescents are kind of the same as ours, where they're goofing off, they're having fun, they're doing whatever, and they're actually taking maybe even some chances that their parents would not actually be happy about, but they are. And so that's just one example of many, many different types of beings that live on this earth and consider this earth home just as we do. Now, many people feel that there are what they refer to in religion's doctrine as kind of angels around us. Again, part of what people are not always seeing. And we actually would say that we do believe that there are beings, or some people would say guides, some people would say different, that are around. Some of them are not even assigned to you. It really could be something in a different frequency who sees you're in trouble and you need a little help and literally just steps in to help you for a moment. That can happen as well. But the term angels, the one thing that we want to say about that is that we think of angels as more of an umbrella term rather than being so specific in a religious doctrine, as being entities that actually, in most people's perspective, they would want those entities to come to them for aid. We always say be careful. Most people have heard in the religious doctrines about the fallen angels. They're still using the angel title, but many also realize there are beings out there that may not be for your highest good. And so when you use the term angel, it's an umbrella term, and you may not know what you're getting when you're calling it in. And so some people, you know, they may ask for help and they're getting help, or sometimes you're asking for help and it really turned into a disaster. You may not know what you're getting. So part of the knowledge that we want, and we've talked about before, is helping people learn how to be very specific on what they're asking for to come benefit them, because they've now acknowledged that the spectrum of what could come is very large. And then how do you bring it down into what you're really wanting to come, so that you don't get unintended attention that you didn't want. Okay? So another thing that we've said and we want to say now is that, again, and this is probably very, very, very important as a fundamental, is that we are energetic beings living in a DNA skin suit. I said it earlier, but really this is very important. So when we actually, you know, we currently can see ourselves in our body, but our energies radiate out further than that. When that soul connects to a body, it's doing more than just what you see here. It's radiating out things as well. And that's a very important concept to know, that you're more of an energetic, or even you can think of yourself as an electrical being. Which, one of the concepts that you really, really have to understand is that if you are more of a being like that, but you happen to be in a skin suit, what do we use electricity for? We use electricity all the time. We use it as a fuel source, right? We use the sun's energy, if we can, as a fuel source. We do all of that. So believe it or not, your energies can actually be utilized as a fuel source. And so that's a very, very important concept to understand, because we've not really taken any courses on understanding that that's who we really are. And then how do we keep ourselves from being siphoned and different things taken from us? I always use the example, it's the same example I use because more people understand it than anything. You go to Walmart and you come out and you're exhausted and you want to take a nap. Okay? Your energy has been stolen all kinds of different ways and siphoned up just by going into that store. Now, who's doing the siphoning? Well, you know, it can be all kinds of things doing it, beings you're not seeing, energies around that are just in and of itself draining you. Or it could be another, believe it or not, human being doing it who doesn't actually know that they're doing it. The important thing to learn here is that the goal is that we're going to learn more about ourselves so that we can protect our own energies. And then when we actually have the discussion later on, we'd just like to go over some basic things to help people learn how to protect their energies. And we'll do that in a little bit. But the other thing to understand about the fact that we are kind of energy is that means we're frequency and energy bandwidth, we're a frequency, and that we're normally vibrating within a certain, we'll call it bandwidth, okay, that we're normally vibrating on. What does that actually mean? Believe it or not, there is association between where are you vibrating and certain behaviors, okay? So if you go the entire spectrum of our current ability of vibration, you know, you could vibrate at a frequency, and again, this is incorrect what I'm about to say, but it's the only way to describe it. People normally go like from low to high. It's incorrect, but I'm going to use it to explain it. So if you're vibrating at a frequency that's considered a kind of a lower bandwidth, a lot of times those behaviors associated with it could be ones of anger, pure survival instinct, okay, aggression, and a lot of thought about potential sexuality thoughts or harm in certain ways. More of those basic animalistic type of behaviors. As you start to change and you're vibrating and you move up into different levels, things begin to change. You may get out of, your basic survival mode, so you're now in a frequency bandwidth where maybe you're thinking about other people a little bit. It's not just you now, you're thinking about other people. and then you move up into other vibrational frequencies, and you may be more thinking about what's the bigger picture. You know, why am I here? So, but you usually am not thinking, why am I here, bigger pictures, when you're in a lower frequency bandwidth, okay? And that's a really important thing to know as well. Part of our soul's journey is just that, moving ourselves up the frequency spectrum, and then even expanding our frequencies to see even more and be able to experience even more, because that's where we're actually heading, where we're going to be moving into the ability to experience more, do more, see more, feel more, and that's where we're going. But as far as, you know, even some of the crazy stuff that's going on right now in the world, and it's really been bad for the last, you know, couple years, and you've seen all this behavior, you've really seen it all, haven't you? You've seen what you would consider the tearing down and true, almost animalistic type of behaviors by people, and then you actually are seeing potentially truly beautiful, what some people would say benevolent, they would use that word a lot, types of thoughts, you know, that people are trying to inspire with too. Now, would those people and those people normally be able to get along great, kumbaya? No, it's not true. One of the other things with frequencies is it's usually, think of it as an octave on the piano, where you normally have birds of a feather that flock together. Well, that's because it's a frequency comfort zone. And so what you actually have is people that are vibrating in a similar frequency tend to find one another. It's a comfort zone. Whereas if there's too much difference between the frequencies, it feels very uncomfortable, and people will normally not want to be together. And so that's another thing that is actually occurring right now, where people are finding themselves, and they're finding their frequencies, and they're finding that there may be people in their lives that they maybe really liked, and they're like, but I think I'll not go visit them for Christmas this year. Forget COVID. They're just kind of drifting apart. That is normal and that is expected. There's nothing wrong with it. But it is because of what we're talking about, where people are growing on a personal level as they're supposed to be. And so these changes are beginning to happen. And so you could actually feel like you've gone and you spent a lot of personal time and you've done a lot of work, and done a lot of enlightenment, whatever. You go into the group that you used to be a part of a year ago, and you feel everybody's sphincters clenching around you because they're no longer comfortable with you. There's not a spoken word that's happened, right? It's nothing you've said. It's nothing they've said. It's a recognition that the frequencies, they're clashing now, okay? And that's starting to happen to people, and people are like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know why it's going on. I'm the same kind of person I've always been, and I'm like, it has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with that. I'm sure you're a fine person. You know, it has to do with the frequencies. But all of that, within all this craziness that's going on right now, is meant to be happening, as crazy as it really is. So you have to kind of understand that particular concept. Now, one of the biggest things that we talk about that seems to be brand new to everyone, because we really feel it's very important also to understand the learning process that we're in, is again, if you can consider the fact that we are in a learning curriculum that's been set up, well, there must be a plan to it, right? What is it? Well, from everything that we've been able to bring in, download, is that we like to simply call the experience that we're in is going from darkness to light, okay? Darkness to light on a soul level. But what does that mean? So I try to give the visual for people that, and again, there are other learning curriculums out in other places that are totally different. Totally different, but this is the one that we're in right now. So what does that actually mean? So going from darkness to life would be, here you are, a grand soul, and our souls are big. I try to help people understand that. There's no way you can stuff who you are into the skin suit. You are so magnanimous, the soul out there. You may hear people refer to the higher soul or the oversoul. Don't think of it as something separate from yourself, because it's not, but everything can't fit into this current body. It just cannot happen, and it's not meant to be that way. So what actually basically happens is, I'd say, think of yourself as your own massive galactic universe. You are huge, okay? And think of all of the planets and the stars as different yous having different experiences, actually all at the same time, because everything is actually at the same time. Time is just something that we put into this kind of experience. Time in the galactics is nothing like we have defined time here in a linear way. It doesn't work like that. But so everything is done at once. So if you can think of how massive you are, you actually are having an experience here, sitting right here, listening to what I'm saying. But there's other parts of your big soul, huge, galactic, unbelievable self that's having experiences there and there and there and there and there. So you're massive. But since everything has to be done in the now, believe it or not, it does, you're going to be so large, and you just poof, going to be off having all these experiences at the same time. One of them is this one that's going on right now, okay? But you're enormous. So one of the things that we're growing to do is, you have to also think of yourself as the biggest library you've ever seen. All of those experiences mean knowledge, and you have access to that knowledge when you know how to check the information out and bring it down and use it and put the book back. So that's part of the skills. That's why a lot of people are like, I just seem to know how to do it. They want to give credit a lot of times to somebody else. And I always say, maybe you ought to give credit to yourself, that you really went to your own personal library and you checked out the book, you brought the information down, you put the book back. You know, you don't know where it came from. Well, it probably most likely came from you. People call those downloads, different things like that.
It's basically us looking at us, basically.
It's us looking at us and helping us out at times, right? And so that's how big you are. But there is value in every time you decide to have an experience doing something else that adds to the whole. So as we move forward, we're going to be learning more and more how to re-access this big library that we actually are. Now, in the experience that we are in, going from darkness to light, what that actually really means is that an experience where duality becomes now a part of it, okay? We're in that now. We always compare something to the opposite of it, be it good, bad, light, dark, right? You can think of all the different ways of looking at something, haves, have-nots. And that is how we've been learning more about who we are. And a lot of people love that term, learning more about who we are, but I just say remembering, because we started as that huge galactic being who came down, and then the process of forgetting began, and the process of the frequency lowering began. So we actually start at this perfect place, come in for an experience, through lifetimes actually drop ourselves down. And at the point of being dropped down, the worst would be, the opposite of loving and caring. So you think of things of the worst: domination and control, victimhood, whatever you want to say, the worst of it, okay, being truly, as I say, flushed down the toilet. And then you actually rise out of it to learn to have the other side of the coin, which is actually where we're going, which is learning more about how it is to be in unity, how it is to learn about our co-creative skills and then co-create things together. Now, you remain your individual self. I know there's rumors out there that we're all just going to be one like-minded. No, you're never going to go and do that, but you'll learn to work better with people. You'll learn how to co-create yourself and then co-create with others in a more positive way to get the experience you want. Being on the darkness side of things, you forget who you are, so you forget all of your skills, you forget you have the ability to change anything, and your skills of co-creation are also co-opted for someone else's benefit. So you forget who you are, and you go through this experience, and then you're coming out of it. So right now, in the current present moment time, why we say this is an important period of time is because everything as far as generalized enormous darkness has been done, and it is why people are remembering things like they're afraid of Armageddon, they're afraid of Nibiru coming back, they're afraid of this, they're afraid of that, here it's coming. It's not because it's coming, it's because it already came.
Took place in the past, therefore you think it's ahead of you if you have not acknowledged it, yes.
Okay, so we're not really good at creating a ton of new thought. Everything's been out there, but why are people bringing this up? It's because it's been experienced. Like I said, we've gone down the toilet. We've already did that side first. That's the side. So what's going on right now is the desire and the cry out that we're ready to move into this new experience. But in order to do that, you have to understand that you need to know the world around you, how it's really set up. You have to know what's really going on in order with your personal co-creative skills to change it. Now, one of the big things that we were also told is that, believe it or not, the year 2012 wasn't insignificant. Yes, it was the end of the Mayan calendar that people talk about, but that end of the Mayan calendar really was a galactic march of time. And at the end of that, there was kind of being at a point, and I do use kind of the infinity symbol, where, we forgot, we went down the toilet, and here we are. Are we going to go and experience the other side? Or do we not feel we learned enough and we're going to go back down the toilet again? Which one? What are we going to do? It really was an important marker in time. And that's where you hear people's, channelings or whatever, that concern. What's humanity going to do? What are they going to do? That really was real. What we were told is now that that there was, and again, and it doesn't even have to be known on a known level. But if everybody on the world on the inside is screaming, I don't like this and I want change, guess what's going to happen? That's a unifying thought. There is going to be change. And what we were told profoundly is that that did absolutely occur. It was a unifying event. You don't even have to be spiritual to do it because all souls are honored, and it was a one commonality. And so the one thing that we pretty much have been told since that time, and especially even now, is we're more firmly entrenched on the positive timeline than we've ever been. And we are experiencing things we have not experienced before. But one of the big things that must occur right now, and we've been trying to say this for years, and it's really, it's kind of funny because even though we may say these things, when it really starts to tumble and open up, even we're surprised. It's like, I couldn't have guessed this. Who could have guessed this year? But it's a part of the unfolding of events so that people are all questioning what's going on. I'll give you the example of even COVID, and I'm in the medical field, I have to tell you, do you know 2/3 of the people polled in the medical field have no intention of taking the vaccine?
Yes.
None.
Nurses more than.
I know, I'm one of them.
Nurses more than doctors.
Right? And everyone, since this COVID began, and I had conversations with my colleague, everyone's like, what in the world is up? This makes no sense. It could be that. I just wanted to use that as an example. I'm not going to dwell there. It could be politics. What is going on? This is crazy. It could be whatever is going on. Wait a minute. What do you mean the government lost all this money, or this is now run? How can you not guesstimate a cost and now it's 10 times the amount? Who's getting that money? So all of these things are coming up and being almost played right in your face, so that you can actually see what's been going on in the world around you. Again, so that basically the first thing is to say, no, I don't want to live in a world like this. Now, some people think, no, I don't want to live in a world like this. It means you are intimately, you're going to die. You've just willed yourself to die. And because, you know, obviously the world's not going to change, and that's a bad mindset to have. But the world will change because you're basically saying, I don't want this, right? And so that is actually what's going on. Now, one of the things as we're moving into these new energies as well is that things will start to happen at a faster and faster and faster pace. Most people can hardly keep their breath right now, right? You've never seen so many people waiting for the next shoe to drop, right? But it is a part of it. Now, the energies that are coming in will give us a little break every now and then it's like a wave. It's still going to come through. It's still going to come through. It's still going to come through. And so there are going to be plenty more shocking events that are going to be unpleasant and shocking events that people are going to be happy about, right? It's going to happen all over the place. But that's where we are in all of this. So again, if you think of the infinity loop, we've done the circling the drain, we've gone down, now we're to the point where we've decided we would like to actually now start to experience something else, but we first have to understand and clean up the mess that we're in. Which gets to the one point that we try to help people understand: there are no saviors, we save ourselves. This is a learning experience. This is not fun. Let's just go for it. This is not fun when a lot of people are going through right now. But you have to learn the skills of how to do this and overcome this yourself. And so, yes, could there be guides or could there be benevolence out there that will come in a moment and help you? Of course there will be. But in general, it's part of the learning skills for us to learn how to co-create more effectively. So if someone does that for you, you don't learn anything. And you have a right to have that knowledge. And so there's only one way to get it. And that's probably one of the most upsetting things that people then will turn us off because they really don't want to hear it, is when we actually say, you're not going to have your savior. And we've been saying that for years. And you know, there's a lot of channel turning off at that moment, but I haven't seen the savior yet coming in. And the savior could be in the form of truly, you know, a benevolent angel coming down, let's say, and helping you out, or a movement that's going to clean out government for you, instead of, again, so that you don't have to do anything. But that's how we got ourselves in this mess in the first place. There was so much trust that was put out that you didn't have to worry about it, and then your trust was taken advantage of. So people are going to have to be and learn and be more responsible and make sure things now are going in the direction that they want. But all of this has to happen first. And so again, that's the learning curriculum that we're in, and that is kind of where we're at in that process. Now, again, we've already talked about the fact that we are kind of electrical beings and we're going to protect our energies. But in order to really even do that, you can do some general things. There's another principle that we believe in that we try to help people learn more about, and that is discernment. We must learn to discern what is around us, and we must learn to discern, is it something that's good for me now or not? And that is a skill, believe it or not, that every single person was born into this planet with. And just being a little kid, it starts to be beaten out of you. And the best example I like to give is when everyone has heard their parents argue. I think most people have. There could be a few lucky that have never heard their parents argue. But most people have. And then you go up to mommy and daddy with your eyes wide open, and you're like, you know, don't argue, right? So let me say my family, don't argue. And they both turn around in uniform and say, we weren't arguing. Everything is fine. Every ounce of every part of your soul is telling you things are not fine, but these are your parents, so you must have interpreted that wrong. And then it begins. It begins from that moment on, where people are taught not to listen to their discernment skills, not to listen to themselves anymore. And unfortunately, in this world that there is a lot of domination and control, that has been so co-opted. A lot of pleasure taken into beating that out of people so that you will not accept what's going on right in front of your face, which is you're being taken advantage of or something else is going on, and you just decided, I'm not even going to listen or even pretend to listen to this anymore. I'm just going to do what I'm told, which is part of the goal of a domination and control. So we're going to talk about discernment skills here in a minute. So again, like I said, but don't think of this all bad. This has been going on for eons. I can tell you, we can tell you, when we do talk about galactic history, for example, that Maldek was really a planet. That asteroid belt that's going around between planets was really a planet. It really was. There was intelligent life in this universe that was then at that time. A war did break out. That's why Mars has hardly any atmosphere any time. And if you really look at pictures of Mars, you're going to see a weapons fire that goes across almost the whole distance of Mars, and people look at it and it looks like a scrape mark, it looks like a scar, it looks like something, but every ounce of you would say, well, that can't be, because we're told humans haven't been around that long, right? Of course it can't be. But if you really look at it with a different eye, like you would look at any other war things, you're like, that's weapons fire. And it really is weapons fire. But it's hard to believe that how could, there have been stuff like that actually going on. But we just say because you've been taught not to believe that that stuff could be going on or had happened, but it did. So right now, again, just understand some of the things that we talk about, that there is great respect for every single soul on this planet. Okay? There are souls that are ready to really move on. They're working a lot on their own personal spirituality, and there's some that aren't. Fine. So no one is dishonored. So it's kind of an interesting thing where, you have the source, the benevolent source of all things. You really think that benevolent source is going to, get rid of part of itself? I mean, do you really think that this group of people that aren't agreeing with you that the source is really just going to come down and just get rid of them, they have no rights? Remember what we said in the beginning, the source is actually neutral. We're the one having the experience, and the source actually is sitting back trying to say, am I learning anything from all of this? And that's really what's going on. When I first found that out, I was actually kind of mad because I felt kind of used. I did, right? That source is using me to gain more knowledge. That actually hurt a little bit until I kind of was like, well, okay, maybe if I were the source of all things, I'd challenge myself to that too. Could I learn? And, which really means in the end, everything's okay because you're still a part of source and you always will be. But we're moving on into that new grade level. It does not end. One of the biggest, again, pieces of misinformation is that we're about to get to a point of not needing to learn anything anymore. We're all going to be sitting on a fluffy cloud somewhere playing harps, all singing in unison. That is not going to happen. And so, let me just bust that bubble right now, because everything that we channel or whatever, we're actually getting ready to hit ourselves into energies that are the most exciting of them all. Many groups like to stay in this frequency bandwidth that some people refer to as 5D. They're like fine if you want to describe it like that right now, but it's really, use the language you have right now to describe things. You're recognizing a change is coming great, but it's not really the proper way to say it. Where a lot of entities, a lot of beings, they like to be there because it's the most fun, it's the most exciting. Now, if you've been around a lot of gloom and doom, you think the most fun and most exciting is going to be fishing every day on a lake. That's not necessarily their interpretation. It's where the most action is, where the most encounters are. And those encounters aren't always just kumbaya moments. They're going to be challenging. Believe me, the one thing that we've seen by channeling people and beings that are in those densities is a lot of them have defensive armor. So everything about, conflicts ending, nope, not going to happen. As we get ourselves ready for moving into the galactic world, what we're going to get is more of. But the goal is what we are going to have inside is more of the ability to deal with it, because we've dusted off our discernment skill. We know what to stay away from, what we're maybe not ready for. okay? We know how to protect our energies. That we're learning these things now to actually now prepare us for more of what's out there that's coming in our future and is meant to come. So again, part of this discussion is just to kind of broaden the conversations and say that yes, there's both sides of the coins out there. Everyone can accept that there's good and evil in this world, but no one ever wants to talk about the evil side. One of the things that have been instituted for most people and taught year after year after year after year is you've been taught, don't talk about it because you will bring it to you. And that is not necessarily a true statement.
Yeah, your intentions have to be towards that.
Your intentions have to be to bring something like that in. But if you're just having a neutral conversation about something, you're not evoking anything, you're just having a conversation. But if someone wanted to hide and they still wanted to dominate and control, you would kind of think of them more on that camp side. Wouldn't you want to tell everybody don't talk about it or you invoke it because it keeps you better in control, doesn't it? So a lot of things have been done over time to have us think in a certain mindset that basically is going to allow certain things to continue until we stop with the fear and then we talk about it to overcome it. So those are kind of the basic tenets that we've been talking about for years on our website. We've done shows. We're actually coming up to the 100th lifting. We've done like 20-something Q&As where people have sent us in questions. But that's kind of the synopsis of the things that we talk about. And we talk about absolutely everything. And it's hard to just do it all here. But the biggest things that we do in a short period of time that we want to help people understand that are going to improve their lives, that you will get improvement on, because the goal is that you will become, you will get results so that you will become confident that you can do something about what's going on in your life. Because again, we're not saviors. Chris is not a savior. He can clear you, but then you've got to learn how to keep yourself clear. We have to learn these skills. The big three, in my opinion, are, again, and we're going to cover them, are protection skills, discernment skills, and the one other thing we like to talk about, again, really quickly is a little blurb on dream time and how to protect you from things invading in your dreams. Those are the three biggest. If people start to do just a little bit of work in those areas, they start to have different experiences in their lives. And then they're like, wait, maybe there's something to it. So our whole premise is that knowledge is power. People have not been informed. And if you can choose not to be fearful of certain pieces of information, you may find that you're able to control your life in the way that you want it to go versus maybe some of the unpleasantries where it has been going and benefiting someone else. So if you want, you want us to talk about the protection skills first?
Yeah, we'll go into that, yeah. And also the both external and internal protection, yeah. Energy protection skills, what you can do, at times it boils down to visualizations, intentions. You can actually, what I do is I just surround myself in armor that comes out from within and surrounds myself in it. Other people prefer to put a big crystal or something around you, maybe a geometric shape. A cage, I've seen people do that before, like a light cage. I've seen some shamans and such do that. Some people put a big whirlwind around them. I've seen people do that. All manner of manifestations can be used in that area. Some people use light, some people use color, flame. I've seen that.
But imagine or get a feel, and again, this is about intention, so get out of the thought that I have to know exactly where something is. You don't.
No, you don't.
So when you're doing this, your intention is your whole energies are covered, not just your body. All of your energies are covered under your feet, over your head.
Yes, and also some people think that they have to have heightened psychic skills to do this. No, you don't. It just takes a little bit of creativity, a little bit of visualization, a little bit of imagination. You don't even necessarily have to be able to see if a negative being or entity is around. And sometimes people can just feel it. It can feel dense in a place. Sometimes it's a residual from something that's happened on the land. You'll actually feel it. You'll feel that it's much more dense, much more tight. Or it might make you sick in some way. That's usually an indicator something's there. One of the big things is we've been talking about the discernment skills with different beings. Which ones are you invoking? Which ones are you bringing in to assist? There are beings that will assist. They won't save you, but they will assist you in some fashion. But you have to know what you're calling in, why you're calling it in, why you need the protection, what is essentially around. But you don't necessarily always have to identify it, except is it good or is it bad? Is it for my highest good? Is it for the lowest vibrations, highest vibrations?
So the
No.
skill itself that we like to talk about for discernment, again, that everyone has to dust off. I was mentioning before about children, about it being kind of stomped out the first time you saw your parents. So the exercise that we like to tell people about where they can start to feel their own discernment again is kind of simple. If you kind of can take the time to think of something you really, really love, okay? It could be anything. It could be chocolate. It could be cooking. It could be, you know, the plants outside. It could be your dog or cat. It doesn't matter. Just something you genuinely love. And then think of yourself interacting with that, whatever it is that you love. What most people will begin to, and I say refeel or pay attention to, is in an area of their body right here. And normally what will happen is you'll feel a bit of a swelling start to occur, and it's almost like trying to pull you towards whatever it is that you're thinking about or you're loving. It's pulling you towards it, okay? And if you spend some time doing that, you're going to realize, wow, it's the commonality that we were all brought in. We all have this ability to do that. That is something I love. I really get, you know, a good exchange from it. That is a positive kind of feeling towards something. If the opposite of that is think right now about something you really despise, you really hate, could be anything, it doesn't matter, okay? And really then interact with it, have it around, think about how it's making you feel. What you're probably gonna feel is right here. It's almost like taking a fist and it's pushing inward, even to the point where you would maybe want to bend over. This is where you hear people saying, I'm kind of sick to my stomach. It's going to, the pressure will hit you here and you'll want to do this. This is now saying this isn't good for me. Now, again, what is good for me or not? Well, that depends on where you are in your growth cycle. What's good for someone else may not be good for you. Or like I say, a second grader should discern that they shouldn't be sitting in a physics class. But a high school senior may feel just the opposite. They may feel joy, feeling great. But a second grader should be like, I think I'm going to be sick. How in the world could I, right? Because it's not good for them at that moment. So most people have these types of responses still. You think it was stomped out of you. It's really not, but you've ignored it. Completely ignored it. One of the things that you have to do is redust that off. And then you have to decide that you're going to relook at everything, okay? We always say deny the known. You really have to make a decision that I am going to now dust off some of these skills and I am going to review almost everything that I have been taught or learned. Is it something I really feel good about because I believe it, or is it something that I have been indoctrinated to believe and I'm trying to please someone else? It could be a relationship. You know, I've been really feeling like this for a long time, you know, but I've done nothing about it. That's where the problems begin, in all honesty, because what are you now going to do about it? How are you going to realign yourself to now navigating in the world in the way that you feel is good for you, and what are you going to do about it? It's not easy. It causes a lot of problem for a lot of people because they're going to go across their whole spectrum of their life and see, wow, I ignored it here, I've ignored it here, I've ignored it here, I've ignored it. But it is a key foundation of honoring yourself in that way as we move forward. Because if you don't, it then becomes a vulnerability for someone else now to exploit.
Yes, and what I always say, you'll hear me say on other shows as well online, if you have any skeletons in the closet, anything at all, these beings out there, these negative beings, will exploit every inch of it. They would see it as more of a weakness, need to actually get rid of that, and then they have no power over you. If you look within, you know yourself well enough to know that they actually have no power over you, then you're fine. But if you have anything weighing you down, anything. Also, anything they could interpret as an agreement with them as well. This is how stupid some of these negative beings are. They will interpret even certain mannerisms, I found it, as agreements. Not with all people, but they actually do this. They interpret certain words, the way you phrase things. I even had a friend that was actually wearing a shirt one time that had had the phrase "come and take it," like the military like to use. Well, these negative beings came in. They thought he was giving permission per the wording to actually come and take his energy. And he goes, "No, this is what I actually mean by this." And these beings took off out of his actual house. When he clarified what he actually meant, they're like, "Oh, okay," And since he could see him like I can, he could interact with them and say, "No, this is what I meant, and this is what this phrase means." It's not exactly literal. It has a symbolism behind it, and they're like, and they took off at that point. But they'll actually do this in dream time. This is where they're the worst at this. They'll actually, in order to get consent and permission, which they usually most always need, is consent and permission to do things to you. There are times where I've seen that rule broken, many a time actually. But in dream time, they'll actually say, hand you an object, or have you eat food or something like that. This usually denotes a contract between both sides. And then this gives them permission to keep harassing and harassing. Well, humans are not always at the point where they know that there's an agreement just been struck and they're going to wonder why they're being hit. That is if you're at the point where you know an entity is actually doing this. I've seen this time and again in different paranormal cases. I've been a paranormal investigator also for quite some time as well. I've actually seen this to where a person, house, they think it's haunted, they know there's some kind of demonic entity or something there. And it boiled down to that the crux of the entire thing was they had a single dream where either they shook hands with a being, they either took food or took an object, something, scroll, information, they even entered a building, got into a vehicle, something in there that being then saw as an invitation into the home. Now, if they feel that is occurring, if those stupid negative beings think that this is occurring, they're going to try to bypass every bit of external protection you have. They're going to actually see your internal protection is not necessarily enough too. There's another sleazy move they like to use too. Say if another human has a possession or an entity or an attachment. These are the things I usually get rid of in people when I find them. And then I usually see if they think there's an agreement there, and I usually find how to revoke it. That's where revocations come into play, which I'll explain in a moment. In this, sometimes another human can have something in them. Well, if you've said yes to answering a question or something from that person, that being then will then also consider that as an invite to harass you. And I've actually run into that on multiple occasions. It's a very sleazy move they use. And as far as I'm concerned, it isn't valid, but I still run into it. And I get the people to basically revoke any and all agreements made with any malicious being and or beings within other humans. And that usually breaks the tie right there. Now,
But the thing for Dreamtime that we really
yeah, and I wanted to get into that. Yeah,
get across to people is the fact that in general you don't really know excuse me, what's going on. I know. Go ahead.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah. Well, anyway, the thing that actually has helped the most, one of the most powerful revocations we were ever given, was the Dreamtime revocation, and it goes pretty much like this. It is then and then say your name in a blank space. Do hereby revoke any and all agreements with any malicious being and or beings within Dreamtime. And that's essentially one that I say every morning, she says every morning. Especially if after you've had some weird dream, you have no idea what the hell it was all about. And even if you get up to go to the bathroom in the night, do it. And I've done that too. And you'd be surprised how often this one really works.
But Benevolence knows you're not in full control of your dream time. It's working really hard for me not to be able to say this. So
'Cause this is a big deal,
benevolence
yeah.
knows you are not fully conscious and really aware of what's going on in your dream time. They're not coming to you in dream time to strike a deal. Benevolence is not. It's not. And one of the things that we went through was a period of time where it's like a repeating Groundhog Day, so that we could actually see the intricacies of how people's dreams were being invaded and how things were interpreted as agreements that you would have no idea you just agreed to something. So the simplest thing, again, like Chris was saying, the most effective, but the bottom line is if you can't remember anything at all, just when you get up in the morning and you go take your pee, I revoke anything I agreed in dream time. Just revoke it. You do have free will. You have to assert it. And when you start to assert your free will, be it in here, in that dream time, be it when you're putting your protection around you, you have to have strong intention. This isn't wishy-washy stuff. This is, I mean it. This is like the most assertive you can be. This isn't a joke. This isn't a maybe, because maybes don't count. So you really have to be strong with your personal intention, because that's a part of the co-creativeness of everything. How strong are you with that intention to mean what you say when yes is yes and no is no, and there isn't an in-between. So that's something else that a lot of people have to learn, is how to actually invoke a strong intention to really mean it.
And insert your own intention, your own sovereignty, create your own temple space, basically saying this space is mine, nothing evil can enter this space, and actually mean it. I saw a show one time where there was this young girl that was actually being tormented by a demonic entity. Well, the psychic that was there, or the medium psychic rather, he's also a trench worker as well, to get rid of some of the negative entities. He basically said, no, you have to be more assertive. That she was just crying, sobbing, please don't do this, please don't do this. No, you never say please to these entities. They'll just laugh at you. Say, do it now, get out of here. You have to be extremely assertive. He was explaining that, and also to the audience at the time as well. This is how you have to actually deal with these things, because they'll continue just harassing you, feeding off you over and over again if you're going to be in fear or begging these beings. They love it when they're around people like that. You never want to do that. I've run into that my whole life, where they actually will continuously pound and pound and pound to wear you down. And the object is to claim your space. And I've run into this time and time again. Now, with external protections. External protections, I create these all the time to augment and complement what people are doing with their own internal protections and intentions. I actually create what's known as orgone devices, both resin and wax. There's a wax one sitting out here. I can actually bring this in here real quick.
And the building, I have to say, a testimonial, it's like the building is so much better. I mean, it was a crazy bad. And just having this here, and Douglas, who is a non-believer, my partner, he's kind of like, he said, boy, the building feels so much better since these guys have been here and we've got this object here. So,
yeah.
And sprays, we've used some of the sprays.
Yeah, and sprays, I make sprays as well, liquids. Actually, I sprayed a little bit of that before you all came in. And what happened what happens with these is this is shungite beeswax. This is why it's black. And what shungite is, we'll get into here in a little bit, is basically was found in Karelia, Russia, and the Russian military used it later on in their uniforms when they had to be around after the Chernobyl disaster. It prevents radioactivity from harming people. Also blocks the 5G waves. This is why you see on the backs of all our business cards 5G and the circle and slash on the backs of them like that, because it actually will help block that. It helps block negative entities and any sort of negative thought forms. I've seen it do that as well. And couple it with silver, works absolutely fantastic. What I do with this is beeswax being one of the most powerful mediums for orgone devices that I know of. That second is resin.
Excuse me, repeat that. Beeswax is the what?
Beeswax is one of the most powerful mediums to actually carry the orgone and energetic field. because of the organic nature of it. The second most is resin. I would say like a polyester type or polyurethane based resin, but that has a tendency to break down after a while. I prefer to use epoxy resin in a lot of my orgone pieces. What this does is, there's a inside here, if you could actually just slice this thing in half, there's a multitude of crystals, and there's a copper coil at the very bottom of this, and there's copper, quartz, gold flake, and magnetic materials in here. And what this does is, it actually, along with the help of the shungite that's in there, will actually accumulate energy and bring it up like a fountain. Now, the shungite will try to absorb the negativity that's come in and then transmute it. This is why I choose to couple it with devices like this. And what this is doing, if you could see the field, is actually bringing it up and over. Everyone here, I can actually see it coming around this way as it's going up, and it goes up in like a spiral. With this piece here can actually keep this whole building saturated in good energy, because if something negative tries to come in here, what's going to happen is it's going to break down that energy, transmute it, and put it back out again. And what I do also with the resin pieces is I actually create these pieces. These are salt, hematite, and amber pieces right here. Amber is another fantastic transmuter of negative energies, and salt is a very good protective measure that people have been using for hundreds of years to actually keep their buildings clear and their houses clear. But I've turned these into pocket-sized pieces that you can carry with. One's white sea salt, and the other one is black witch's salt. Black witch's salt is an extremely potent protector that is used in ceremonies, used in protecting buildings, protecting households. It's an incredibly potent.
What was that again? Hematite, salt, and what?
Hematite, salt, and amber within these pucks. Basically, this is why these are brown like this, because they have the amber in here. I don't have amber in all of these, because it's harder to get, but that's an extremely old resin type that is extremely good. It's also clearing up of, like, if somebody dies, the energy that's around when the body has died or decayed or something. Very, very good in cleaning that up. Extremely good in cleaning up. This is why I like to couple it with things like shungite and putting it in some of these devices. It actually works very, very well, keeping it with you, and the salt with you. And this is why I have one of each in the pocket, so if something comes up to me, it strikes those first. In the bag, I have another one in here that is very much like this, with the materials that are in this one. And I have it in this bag, covering the chest. Basically, armor. Think of it almost like how a knight's armor are with the greaves and the chest plate. That's kind of like how I have this. With the hat, I have shungite on on here on the hat, along with cat's eye. Cat's eye is another one that I put in there because that makes it, instead of a really harsh, like stabbing feel when it comes out, kind of like knife blades, it kind of goes like a water fountain. When I put it out like that, it spreads it out. And cat's eye is very, very good for that. It's also good at blocking extremely powerful magnetic fields, I've noticed. Extremely potent.
So in general, the tools that we're talking about that humans are getting better and better at making. I mean, some of that's been around for a while, but really getting better at, because people are starting to be able to see energy, see how things interact. One of the big issues right now and there was a fabulous conversation we had before the start, because you went out and you purchased some and you're like, I'm really surprised this stuff really does kind of work, which is always our goal. We want to do things and help people, and they can try something and they're like, I think there's something to this. But the goal of all of this, why are these tools around? When we're telling you there's no savior, the tools aren't the savior, but the tools may be able to provide a space and to provide an area where then you can work on yourself and to continue to learn and grow. One of the big things that's been going on right now is there's so much bombardment going down onto people from things they don't even see, that people are more into this basic survival mode, into those trying to keep people down, like I was saying, in those lower frequencies, that actually keep them from working on the skills they need to work at to keep improving their skills and improving their life. So a lot of people that come and we started going to fairs with certain things. A lot of people were drawn to the table that were energy sensitive because they could feel something's going on, but they didn't know. And the goal of some of this is a lot of either a room or your home. How can you make the energies better? How can I make this my castle, my sanctuary, or my little cubicle? How can I make these energies better, right now to help me be able to now on my own learn what I need to learn to make my life better. What we'd like to see is in 150 years, these become museum pieces because we've all learned and we all have such strong co-creative skills and strong intent that we don't need them anymore. But right now, what's really great is that they're coming about at the time that we need them because there's a lot of effort trying to keep people from growing and learning. And so, it's great. We love it when people come back and I don't know if you want to share real quick, but when people come back and they said, I tried something you suggested.
I just wanted to get back real quick to the actual Organite.
So what's the question?
Yeah, go ahead.
You said it's either beeswax or poly.
Oh, yeah, there's, this one's beeswax.
What's the composite of your Organite? Is this a bowl?
Yeah, this is just a like a marble
And
stone.
where has this been the whole time you've been here?
Oh, it's been right over there, over in that.
Because the whole time I've been here, I listen better with my eyes closed, because that blocks out all the other stuff.
Yeah.
But somewhere there's like this source that's been going out, like a star to everyone that was sitting here. Since everything first sat down, every time I closed my eyes, I kept seeing this star radiating, and I opened my eyes, and I'm like, yeah, it really is like going to every person.
Oh yeah, and it's going down. It's kind of ramping
I couldn't
out.
figure out where the center of that star was, and so now,
Yeah, it's coming from this bowl.
yeah, I'm getting like weird feelings ever since you started talking about that. But also discernment. Tom might know. I get a check every month, and people think I'm crazy. I have a few physical things, but basically the AMA does not recognize psychic ability, and so I'm labeled schizophrenic. And actually, it's just high potential. But it's very confusing when you're told you can't do this, and it constantly keeps happening. The map does not match the territory. When your senses and your reality tells you one thing, and people keep telling you that's not true.
Because they're not seeing it the same way as you.
But when you tune into your own reality, things happen so fast for you.
Right.
And then, so I get a check every month because they say I'm a schizophrenic. So it works for me on both of them.
I was labeled with Oshmer.
I'm getting paid to be crazy, all right?
Well, it's an interesting thing because we do work a lot with parents with gifted children and they're being labeled. So they're being labeled with different things rather than,
was already told you can't do that.
Right.
You've got to pay a priest. And I told Richard on the way over here, I said, you know what? I was seeing a dog last night. I had to cancel. I said, but you know what? Now that I've had my coffee, something is telling me if I gotta go, I'll get sicker.
right.
They were trying to keep you from coming.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
I told him on the way here, I said, and I don't know if you guys noticed me crying when you started. I said, Richard, I'm sick of going to everybody else's church. We're going to my church for a change.
Yeah, there you go.
We were going to meet an itinerant preacher from my church. And I was explaining to him about Edgar Casey on the way over here and the ARE in Virginia Beach. And that's what I
We've been there, yeah.
training briefly. And that was I was raised on. I call myself a Caseyite. Because when I became involved with some people, I went to work for them, and they got me involved in Edgar Casey and the study of him. But I told God, not 3 times if you want me to pay attention. And this Organite has come up a long time ago, and then now again recently. I mean, somebody brought an old bottle to my house with some kind of liqueur, organized something or another, and we looked it up in the dictionary, and it was actually there. And for the rest of you, look it up, because it's right next to orgasm. And organ is an ancient word for the universal power.
Right.
And then we went, in case y'all don't know this too, to the hot springs up in Safford. And when we got out of our massage and our hot spring thing, there was an Organite on the shelf for sale. And then this friend of ours that works at the VA, he put some in my hand one day and it gave me an electrical jolt like 15 years ago. And you remember Lico? Him and Lico made it. Him and Lico made this piece of organized. And I'm like, Josh, I think this is the same thing that you showed me years ago. So I was wondering how you made yours, and this keeps coming up in my conscious.
Yeah, what I do
This is the
is,
third knock.
yeah, what I do with these is, of course you layer the different organ pieces. With the wax ones, I usually have to do them very slow layers. I put the coil down first, put the gold flake and all that other stuff. I use magnetite sand as well. I pour the wax in and just let it sit a minute, and then I keep doing that. I put more gold flake in, crystals, and other like stones in there as well. And I keep layering. Sometimes plant materials like sages and rose petals and all this other stuff. I put that in this one. You can see one on the edge here that came from Trina over here. We put that in that one. And layer it until I'm up to where these crystals are. At the
So the
top.
outside, is that a rock bowl?
Yeah, that's just a stone bowl that she had.
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Think of it, all you're doing is having something to hold the piece in. It doesn't matter
Right, so it's
always
like-
what you're
it's like,
using.
I had one
Yeah.
in a Darth Vader mug one time.
Yeah,
So,
so it doesn't
So
matter.
you have a stone bowl, and then you have a beeswax matrix, and then you have your basic organic compounds.
Yeah, exactly.
Your choice of whatever moves you.
Yeah, and your intention. I think that's again the one thing. We would always tell people,
Yeah, I
do
always
not
miss these
make these
pieces,
when you're in a
yeah.
bad mood.
Yeah.
You have to be in a good mood because you're putting the intentions, especially clear quartz is programmable with your intention.
I used to make them, I'm thinking about doing it again, transformational jewelry made with the semi-precious stones. And I used to wrap crystals and stuff like that.
Right.
And the more you work with them, the more in tune. And I would make pieces for people, and I wouldn't know who they were. But I would think, oh, this looks cute together. And this is what they said their favorite color was when someone's commissioned me to make a gift for someone. And I would start putting it together and get physically ill. I'd have to take it apart and do it the way my gut feeling told me to do it.
yeah, exactly.
And then the person would love the piece. The jewelry I've made's done some strange stuff, but I've become a believer because it just happens.
Absolutely,
And
you
I
can
can't-
tell.
I can't refute it. The stones move me, and I love what you've done with the stones that you're building.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Line the walls with it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've seen that before. Where people line the walls with the stones. I saw somebody make a fireplace hearth, one of those large Viking like hearths where they had the crystals and the stones all within that, up the chimney and all over the stonework and in the woodwork and everything. I've
And
seen
most
that,
people
too.
are drawn to the stones that they need to remember what that frequency vibration is.
Yes, remembering the different frequencies.
Remembering
And I was
it.
telling Richard, it's like you used the word bandwidth. According to Casey, Alpha and Omega, beginning and end, we're all there in the beginning, we're all going to be there in the end, and everything is a cycling through many lifetimes and dimensions between here and there. And every time a society needs a Messiah, one comes. So there's always messiahs, and everybody's right, and enjoy it, and roll with it. And we're all eyes in the same head, teaching and learning and growing and sharing. And it is so fantastic to be here. That's why I started crying.
Glad you're here, Dorothea.
Tears of joy.
Glad you're here.
And I'm glad you guys are here, and I'm so glad you
Sharing
did
your
this.
questions.
It is such a relief to hear this and be able to talk about it in
Yeah.
public.
We're here to raise the vibration. I mean, it's a blessing to us. It's like when we bought this building and came up to the town, we had mixed feelings. And it's like, just having them here, this is the third time they've been up here. People have even told, I had a police officer and someone else tell us that the vibration is higher. So people know, and we
You can start
appreciate
to
your
feel it.
work. Because they drive 3 hours each way to be here, and they're not compensated. So we are like so grateful that, we're building on something and building a community. So please, if you know someone who wants to have clearings, and I would love to create some opportunity for them to at least pay for their gas. Or
What if
whatnot.
you said you retrieve these books of knowledge and then return them? I have had physical manifestations of actual books I have photographed, photocopied, and sent to people, and they say they didn't exist. They say I couldn't have got my hands on that book in that location. The history of Globe Miami. It appeared to me in the library in Phoenix. And then when I tried to photocopy it again, they said, you can't get that book anywhere but the Indian Museum in the archives, and you can't take it out of their museum. You couldn't possibly have that book in your hand. I said, I have photocopies of that book. And really, I mean, they have appeared in physical form and then disappeared.
Well, what should make you feel better, I think, because it just sounds like for you that obviously you felt alone for a very long time, is I can tell you.
Oh, no, I'm not alone. I'm the people all across the United States.
No, I meant wondering where everyone else is. What I can tell you from our experience is that, like I said, we just started going out to doing fairs or whatever, and people just walk to the table. It's just like you were saying with yourself, you know, that you were kind of like, I think I need to go there. People are just, we don't do much in the way of kind of this grand advertising or anything. We don't, because, you know, we have faith that people that need to hear this or need to have these or are ready for these conversations, they just kind of find their way. What always amazed me is when people would come up to the table and they're like, we were all the way over there, but we knew something was going on over here because of yours.
I picked up the paper, and it's like, there's something in here really important today I'm supposed to read.
Right,
There it is.
right. So it's happening more and more.
Did they, pardon me for interrupting, but
Did you have to go with
I know, I can't
coincidences?
find, you know what? I can't find them because they were not here. So did they run the ad for them or the
They
editorial
did,
twice?
but not this one. This was the
No,
first
not,
one.
I didn't see it this time.
What was the second one, Dorothea? You said it was even bigger the second time. Because I'd love to find it, I'm a
This one with
publicist.
pictures, where'd you get that?
This was the first one.
Silver
Well, he
Bell?
said it was 3 times.
Silver Bell.
No, they only did it twice, so
This is the second one.
No,
Okay,
it's Common
this-
Country, this week and last week.
Okay, but the,
Oh.
but.
Oh, cool. I wish
for
we could
the
get
December-
clippings.
Excuse me, for the November one, prior to their first one.
Right.
This is what they ran in the Copper Country News. Then, 2 weeks previously, they ran the other one in the Copper Country with all the pictures. Speaking of this article,
Yeah.
would you speak to, it says, states, formerly with the Secret Space Program?
That's a very complicated subject that would probably be a lecture all by itself, but since it's there, since you're asking, this is I'll try to condense this as best as I can. Yeah, that's an extremely elaborate subject. What happens is, in a nutshell,
Well, it
is,
says you were with it. What was your part of it?
well, the playing the overall will actually tell what's in, yeah. With some people, they are actually abducted by military, by different alien groups, and actually sent into a program for either different corporations, different families, or different military groups out into the galaxy somewhere. They actually go on military service onto different worlds and into different solar systems, or within our own solar system. What happens is that their consciousness is taken. They're actually taken for a 20-year service either out in the galaxy or on Earth somewhere, and they actually live a parallel life. What happened with mine was, I was actually in 1988. I was actually abducted at that point, where some aliens actually came to my room, said they were going to take my consciousness for a little while. And I went off as another version of me, which one of these corporate groups actually cloned, put my consciousness into, lived for 20 years. That was 1988 to 2008. So there were literally 2 of me in the same space-time. So for some of that time, I was here on Earth. Some of that time, I was out there. I don't have all my memories in a row. I always tell people I don't have all the marbles back in place, because what they do as they're bringing you back, they wipe or suppress your memory, hoping that you will not remember. Well, ta-da, I actually do remember.
Many people are beginning to
Yeah.
remember things.
Yes, and I'm beginning, this is 20 years worth of memories that are trying to cram their way into a brain that you've already lived a certain life. Now you have a parallel one that is overlapping on top of it or in the background. See, as you go along, your brain actually adapts to different stimulus, both positive and negative. As you go along and your brain changes, of course, like if you're taken as a child, of course, you're going to develop that way over a period of time, whether you're in another body or not. When you're brought back and they put you back to the point in which you left, they loop you back around, put you exactly back where you left, you don't have those adaptations anymore. So it is really horrible trying to bring those memories back. It would actually have to take at least the 20-year period that you were over here to bring it back. And that's what's happened to me, but I've encountered one distraction after another trying to prevent me from bringing that back. What actually took place in one scenario, or set of scenarios, is where I was with different military groups on a different planet, basically acting as we went back to savior forces, we'll go back to that. Basically telling the planet, oh, they're going to be invaded pretty much. Oh, we're here to actually help. What the people that actually sent us there were doing was trying to get us to open the door to that planet so they could be the invading force and take over the resources. What also people don't understand is post-World War II is the Nazi regime actually escaped this planet and went out to the moon, Mars, and what's known as Ceres colony. There's the three main parts that they are in our solar system. And other parts, they also escaped other solar systems the same way. Mars, the major outpost of theirs, was an ancient base for an alien group that they're related to. Nordic-looking, Aryan, they always say Aryan race as well. They actually had help from another set of aliens known as the Draco, big reptilian forms, to enhance their technology and to actually basically fake the fact that they lost the Second World War. They actually faked that so that they could basically slither in through Operation Paperclip later on. They went into Antarctica, Argentina. They were building technology that they could literally portal off the planet with. Yeah.
Did you feel a particular, with Men in Black?
Yeah, that's actually, it's good that brought up.
They make these movies to, condition us to reality.
Oh yeah,
Look
that's
at Ninja
exactly what it
Turtles.
was.
What are they about? People getting toxified and getting special powers.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening to us.
Superhero movies, all of them,
Evolution
yeah.
is changing our whole metaphysical reality to where we're actually creating super beings with the pollution.
Yeah, with
My research is handed out by my former pediatrician to his own patients.
Star Trek got us ready for these.
We agree.
exactly.
We've always used Star Trek. Lisa G. Roddenberry channeled knew stuff. Yeah, he knew some stuff.
Have you read Out on the Limb by
Including
Shirley
what's going on.
Yeah, my mother read that one.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
It's
then I
right
got
now.
involved with
Yeah.
the movie recently too,
Oh.
since I moved here.
What also happened in the Secret Space Program, they have these extremely hyper advanced technologies. They have med beds that you could literally lay on and heal basically any element, even if you get an amputation. I actually personally saw this particular one, where somebody lost arm, leg. It's like this octagonal shaped loop. They could literally slide it onto the severed limb and have it grow back. It'd be kind of transparent almost at first, but then it
It
rebuilds.
regenerates like a lizard's tail.
Yeah, like a lizard's tail. Yeah, what they do is they tap into the already existing abilities that humans have. It's called molecular cellular solid regeneration is basically what it is. And you know what phantom limb syndrome is?
Yeah.
Where they were actually, where you actually feel the limb. That is actually our natural ability trying to kick in, but we haven't gotten far enough along yet. They stimulate that and they regrow it back. They could cure paralysis. They can cure basically every disease you can think of. But they don't share it. They don't share it, and that's going to change. It's already starting to be integrated in over time. It's actually starting to be integrated in. I've seen all manner of weapons technologies that they have out there, and anything you can think of, like on Star Trek, for instance, they have it. Anything you've seen on Star Trek, there's a show that's out there that's a really good example of the technologies have, like glass pad technologies, glass wall technologies, show called The Expanse. Very accurate in the way the technology operates and looks. You see they have like cell phone size things that look like thin glass. That's what they have, where they can actually control different craft, different aspects. They have walls. Imagine this whole wall as a giant operational screen. And they can actually operate that, like say in a doctor's office. And they have a room that's all like plexiglass. They could literally close the door to the doctor's office. That could be literally their computer terminal where they're looking at this holographic 3D rendering of all of this. And it's very, very, very advanced. That's where a lot of our technologies like this are actually coming from. This is we're getting the hand-me-downs. We're getting the old socks with the holes in it, basically, is what we're getting. But But we're eventually going to actually get that. It's not as fast as I would like, obviously, but because I have experienced one thing, and then of course we have computers that exist now that barely function as far as I'm concerned. Yeah.
But what's your point?
The point is that,
You came back, you remembered, you interacted?
yes, I remembered.
On a mutually...
No, actually, let me say it this way, because there's the fantastical side. Wow, guys, it's really something else that's really out there. However,
Oh, yes,
and it's really, however, you're not getting that, and you're getting the low hanging fruit hand-me-downs.
Basically, it's try to
And
demoralize by like,
again,
oh, you're
there's
not
still
getting
a little bit of
I'm
a.
wondering why he was taken there and back.
Well, he wasn't. I was as well, and a lot of people were. The problem is, think about it this way. We've done shows on this. We've actually been very careful talking about this, because people can get caught up in the fantasticalness of this
Right.
and not understand what
The
it means to be
fantasy
brought
side of,
back,
like,
and then what
yeah.
happens to you, because there's a bad side of this too, and people are
Very horrid
suffering
side of this,
physically
actually,
from it. But my point is this is where I want to give you a thought process and a big perspective, okay? We'll go back to World War II. That wasn't really lost by the Nazis. They just decided this was more fun, and we'll let them have this because we're going this way. When you think about an infrastructure being built, I don't care what you think. You can think of Egypt and the pyramids. It doesn't matter. When you think about a large infrastructure being built, you need people to build it. Now, do you think some of these people are going to be the ones carrying the supplies and soldering and doing all this whatever? You need a workforce to
Need a
build
slave
it.
force, yeah.
Do you think they all had the fantastical minds to think of everything, or do they need scientists and people that have those minds to utilize for their benefit to be able to build it? My point is that many people are realizing and having problems now because they can't figure out why they're having these memories start to pad up in a lifetime that feels present, but I can't seem to put it into
Because
my
it
current
was-
time
it
frame.
happened over here,
And I have to tell you that the truth of the matter is that if you were in the top 10% of your class in school, you were looked at to see if you were going to be pulled into this to do the bidding of someone else's infrastructure.
They wanted to see if you had the aptitude.
So that's the why.
What school and who are they that are pulling you? And are you talking about an actual, like, in this physical realm of reality that we choose to exist in right now, that you actually were transported to another planetary dimension and back?
Yes.
Or are you saying that you are recalling something from a past life?
Well, what-
Past experience?
Well, it would be
on a different
considered
dimension?
current life.
Yeah, it would be
Then you're
considered.
getting into quantum physics where we can exist on many levels at one time.
Well, we
Oh,
do
yeah.
exist on many levels at one time, but specifically related to the secret space program, what we're talking about is in your current lifetime, that you may have an extra 20 years of life that somehow was lived elsewhere during this period of time.
Parallel to the
So
one
you may be
you're
50 years old, but your life experience is actually 70 or longer, but you don't remember really 20 of it. You were utilized for a purpose for someone else, most likely, and then brought back in using quantum physics in a singular point of time at the time you left, and then things start to go wrong
So
in your life.
who's doing this, controlling different entities, or just what we call the creative collective God?
No, well, what is going on? The specific people that are doing this. These are human, military, and corporate entities that are utilizing this technology. People call them the cabal, but they're actually very fractured.
So,
yeah.
you're talking about like you're top of your class in school, and then what? They pluck you out and put you in different situations?
They put you in different programs.
In different programs, but what actually happens is they want to see where they can fit you. Like if you have a certain psychic aptitude, they have a test for that. Like they'll
So
start.
have you ever taken a military exam?
No.
It's quite bizarre. And I was told I could do anything I wanted to be, and then they stuck me in there, ran me through the refrigeration air conditioning program, and gave me a secret security clearance. Holy shit, I lost faith in the government right there. Out of 350 people, 3 of us got secret security clearances. And they have a different test in high school, because I basically drugged my way through high school. But the military exam is totally different. And I was sent back here to Arizona from North Carolina. I was sent back here where I was raised. And then so many things that happened to me throughout my life
Can I ask one question?
Yeah,
Because I
took
took
it to what
time
you're
last
saying.
time, because we took too much of your time. But I'm trying to recall, I went to a workshop where they had a copper pyramid, copper tubing. And I'm trying to remember, I want to build one myself, and I'm trying to remember the benefits of it. And it was a pyramid that one person could sit in and chair. Would you help me recall what the benefits are for sitting in the copper pyramid?
So what you have in general, copper's a lot of times used,
Dusty.
and the pyramid shape really has, especially if there's no nails or whatever,
Yes.
if it's solid, that's even better. But what happens is what you actually have is what we refer to as a torsion field begins, an energetic field begins. Now, what will happen if you sit, a lot of things have been, if anybody's really curious, exploring pyramids and exploring what happens in pyramids. What will happen is a particular type of energetic torsion field will begin to occur. And if you're sitting at that certain point, one of the benefits of that particular energetic field is basically healing and optimal, let's say optimal health. You could put a sack of seeds that you're going to put in your garden,
Yes.
and those seeds will be more resistant to disease and whatever than one that's not. So you're not allowing these other energies to come into this. What you have is a specific frequency energetic field now rolling in the pyramid. But I will tell you this, they have to be built to a certain way. If you use nails or use different things in there, then it's going to throw off the energy field. So there is something to certain specifics of how a pyramid is
Certain
built.
symmetry
But
and yeah.
the original, a lot of the, let's call it, again, go back to what Dorothea was talking about, the orgone energy in general, the healthy energy, the most optimal energy. Think of that's what's really rolling into this stuff. And so people will report that they're healing, they're feeling better, they're feeling more energetic. Like I said, they've done plenty of study on plants with the seeds that have been put into something
And
like
food
that
and
in
all that,
food.
yeah.
Just
So
last night I was listening to that.
it's a big deal, but it goes all the way back to what we were talking about earlier, the recognition of a type of energy that a lot of people refer to as orgone, that healthy energy. And orgonite, right? Orgone energy, and how that helps the energies around us become better. But what you're getting when you're in a pyramid is you're sitting think of it as like you're literally sitting in a scanner, but instead of being scanned, you're getting frequencies sent your way that are healing.
Well, I spent
So
some
that's
time
what
in
it
the one
is.
at the workshop, and it was amazing. And I'm just wondering if I can use pure copper tubing.
No, yeah, I use copper tubing too.
I
yeah.
believe the ARE, the Edgar Casey Area for Research Enlightenment, you can buy one, prefab. It's a copper tube, you just fit it
Oh, yeah.
together.
Yeah, I think I remember seeing those.
And you sit inside of it. Some people down in Mexico had one in their yard, and they said they got it from the ARE.
I have a lot of copper tubing myself, but I kind of want to put
Yeah, they're not that expensive.
Oh, yeah, I make
Yeah,
good
just,
copper,
if
yeah.
you can get online, start looking, you will find it, and it really is doing that. It's providing that field of energy.
Just the 3-4 minutes I was allowed to sit in, it was amazing.
Yeah, and that's what we try to get out. If you took apart the individual components of this, you'd be like, I can get that. We're not saying rocket science here. We're saying the natural things around us that vibrate out very good frequencies for healing. And that's why stones and different things, people are attracted to different stones.
Yeah.
They have certain frequencies that their energies they're radiating out. When orgone, what really orgone and orgonite really means is that you've taken things that are vibrating at different frequencies, right? You realize the strength of the field that it will do if you put them together. And if you put them together under a little bit of pressure, meaning you have beeswax or resin, you add copper. You'll see always copper add because it's going to start this field. Believe it or not, you need to make sure if you're doing a coil, are you going to, if you lay it one way, the energies go up. If you lay it the other, you're sending
Yeah, but
everything down.
clockwise
So
and
you have to pay
counterclockwise,
attention.
yeah.
But the goal is you're getting a bunch of things combined together in a small space that start radiating out a positive energy to affect the other energies that are around.
So in the 10 minutes it took to get from Miami to here, I was trying to briefly explain to Richard all of this. But I said, what the spiritualists throughout the thousands and millions of years of known and unknown history have always been saying metaphysically has been proven by science. So it's not either this or that. But if you really study the roots of everything, it's all the same. And everything's basically made of 100 elements that interact on a molecular level like a battery. And we're like batteries, everything's like batteries. And depending on the composition is what kind of energy you're gonna get. And maybe, excuse me ma'am, as you construct your own environment with healing crystals, healing stones, images of birds, mountains, whatever that draws your own energy, you construct your own energy field suited to your own self.
Oh, I have my own room, I've done this for 30 years.
Oh, yeah.
That's the analogy of the cave as an armor.
But that's,
It
the but,
resonated to
and
me,
then
if
the
that
goal
makes
is
sense.
always that it's the stepping stone, but later on, we're not gonna need them because our own intention will be strong enough to drive a lot of our co-creative, and we can make the world around us in our co-creative way. So tools are great, and it's fabulous right now, but what we have experienced, and we always tell people, you can't hide within it. So it's fabulous, work on yourself, but if you choose not to work on yourself, this has happened before. If you've had clients,
Oh,
if
yeah.
you choose not to work on yourself and you just want to buy things that Chris makes so that you can hide behind it, it's
Oh,
gonna,
I've had this happen
it's going to stop
before,
working because
where-
those guides are going to make it stop working.
Where I had, this is a perfect example, this was a few years ago actually. I would make stones that had symbols and stuff on them, then, you know, I'd have certain symbols carved into in stones like river rocks and stuff like that. Well, I noticed this same person kept ordering. And I'm going, okay, and I finally asked this person when she had her session, I said, why is it that you ordered so many of them? It was like 2-3 dozen of them she ordered from me. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna ask why. Well, I asked why, and she said, well, I'm surrounding my house in them. And I said, no, with these you only need one. And I figured she was at first giving them to people. And she goes, well, I'm trying to make a shield around my house. I said, that won't do it. That is more complementary to your own intentions. It was a symbol that was so
Yeah, just like focus your intent.
Yeah, it was
Like
just a
any other
focus
religious
intent.
icon.
Yeah, and that's all that was
You know what,
for.
Dorothea, do you mind being silent just a little bit? It's a little distracting, just a little bit, please, because I do want to hear from Tom and from Richard as well, and Sherry, and you're kind of dominating. I'm not saying this to be mean or rude, it's just our
And
policy.
you know what, I don't want to be mean or rude, but I gotta go.
I know, go ahead.
No, but
Go
since you
ahead.
said that.
Go ahead, I just want to hear from Sherry though, and someone else too, so we want to give them some space,
Yeah.
because we gotta wrap it up soon.
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
And so I wanna
We
hear
can take it
some of
offline,
these
so I
others
wanna
too.
hear. Yeah.
Tom,
Tom,
speak up, I gotta go.
all right. Yeah, and Sherry's, I don't get to spend time with you, Sherry, so I wanted you to be able to ask her questions so we can wrap up properly.
Well, I think that the three that I had, that I didn't get last time, I got this time. But I would like to know what Tom, if he's willing to share.
Sure.
I just want to say that I have my own space a room that I've dedicated, and I don't allow anyone in it but myself. And I do my chanting, meditating, and so forth in that room. That's my special space.
Oh, good, yeah.
Now, Tom, what happened since last time? What did you do then?
Yeah, one of the interesting things that happened actually after you talked about dreams and acknowledgement and contracts and like that. It was really weird because I remembered it, and it was a dream that I'd never had before. I was in a front yard somewhere, covered in weeds with a fence around it, and I was cleaning the yard, and there was an unknown entity, and maybe more than one, but primarily one entity, someone that was trying to help. And so every time I would do something, I would get the rake. They'd hand me a rake or the shovel or a trash bag, and I'd never really noticed that before. And it's like, no, we're going to work on this with you. So here, take this, take this, take this. It's like, no, no, I'm not going to take that, and I'm not agreeing to anything. We're just doing a job, and the dream has not recurred.
Oh, good.
But
Because
that
they were
was-
trying to loop you into a cycle like this.
yeah,
they're doing,
and it was just that because of the knowledge from what I listened to here, then I guess what was being presented to me is, okay, let's see if you listen. Take this. You want to agree to have this? It's no.
Yeah.
Or your own
Not
personal
contract.
curiosity to see, is there anything truth to this? So
Yeah.
what we had said before is like, we had the groundhog day. We kept going back
Right,
into it and
right.
back into it until we finally got, because for most people, it's simple, no big deal, and you've just, so I think it's interesting. I think you have to give yourself a little bit of credit because you had that experience because you wanted to understand it better.
Yeah, I think so, and it was presented, basically, okay, how are you gonna deal with this? You've got the information now, you gonna accept this?
Yes,
Or not,
So,
so,
you're part of the Dowsers,
sure,
because I was one of the 13 that started the chapter here.
yeah,
But what you said earlier, Christopher, about, we had one woman who shall remain nameless, and when we were dowsing, almost at every meeting, and we're talking about way, way back, 25 years ago.
Yeah.
She would always say at the meeting, I don't know why you people can do this, I can't douse, I can't douse, I can't douse. And we all tried to tell her, if you say you can't, you can't. So as you've all keep saying, it's intention, and strong intention.
Right, very
Yeah.
strong.
At Boyan Plaza, I don't know, you might have been there, we did
In the later dates, I walked away because it changed from when we began, when we started it changed.
well, we did a program at Boyan, it was either a First Friday or Hardscrabble on dowsing. And so we had several people there that were really good. The one gentleman who's now passed did water.
That's Robert
Yeah.
McKissick. He started it. I was in that initial group.
And so we had different people with different skills that came basically and talked about dowsing and how it worked and ley lines and magnetism and everything else. And fortunately it didn't fail because it was not being selfish. But I brought some gold samples in, and had talked about that and then pulled the rods out. And I said, okay, so everybody set the intent. We're gonna find gold. And pulled the rods out, and there they were. And I moved back, the rods parted. I said, well, what do you think? And they go, well, I don't know. And so I opened the box, and there was the samples of gold ore.
And just to give you
So-
folks
That's
who
cool.
talk, it's the reason we started the Dowsers here is because the churches are so very, very strong. In fact, this Dr. McKissick,
Robert.
when he and his wife taught paranormal psychology at the college, they were burning crosses and different things on their front yard, putting sugar in their gas tank. So what we did is we formed a chapter and joined the American Dowsers Association, and it was kind of an underground, if you will, subterfuge, because we used the dowsers, which we did douse, but we could go into the metaphysical field, and you could only come to our meetings by invitation of a member.
Yeah.
Because, and I told Tricia, I thank you so much for bringing the folks here, and to put it in the paper, I thought, gosh, this lady's brave, she doesn't know the
Yeah,
demographics
no one
here."
died.
But
You know what?
but I think, because there are at least 3 groups that I'm aware of here, and I think you folks have not gotten the participation because of COVID. Because I can think of, like I say, 3 groups of people that would normally be here, I promise you. Because the last thing we had at the Oddfellows 2 years ago, there were 45 people there. And this has been 2 years ago. But I think COVID has so much to do.
Oh, yeah, that's spooked.
But there really
Yeah.
is a community, for lack of a better word, here that's super interested.
I'd love to have this space for yoga and healing, and especially down below. I'd love to have more healing arts, some of the esoteric kind of stuff. The basement we're clearing it with their help, of course, and lighting it and whatnot. So this potential is here for us.
really
And Dr.
Yeah, very
Dr. Julia, local chiropractor, I started maybe 8 weeks ago with her. She actually can measure and graph it and color your energy, and she's balancing my energy because it just happens that I have more below than above. And it's interesting from week to week to see with the acupuncture treatment and that how the yin and yang and the balancing is coming about. But just so you folks that live here know, it's
Really,
amazing.
down the road. All right, well, we do need to wrap. It's a little after 12.
Did you have any questions?
Richard, do you want to ask him?
You're listening.
Okay, I didn't want to leave you out.
You know, the one thing I just want to share is a very interesting story that happened to us. It stays on my heart. It really does stay on my heart because, again, we always say, it's such an uncomfortable time, but we're like, really, this is the best of times. You wouldn't believe how many people and souls are jealous that they're not here at this moment in time as this what it looks like to the Galactics is magic is going on. It's like, how can these souls that have been beaten down for a very, very long time, and when we say long time, again, we say this started over 500,000 years ago, where this kind of invasion occurred, and what started happening, and souls were brought in to reincarnate, and the goals were to kind of skew their views to move them so that they were serving someone else's purpose. So to the galactic community as a whole, here comes like 2012, right? Big deal. This isn't a little deal. And people feel like nothing really happened. Well, again, a lot happening, because what has started to happen is that people will call it an awakening or something, but just a change in their consciousness that all of a sudden, no matter how downtrodden they had been, there's still this other that pops on. It wasn't beaten out of them. And so from the perspective of the Galactics, this is the best TV show ever on right now. You know, it's like literally watching, literally watching what would be considered a dark planet, okay, because we were in darkness, and these little flickers of light just out of nowhere, like popcorn, popping on all over the place. And so we never like to leave things in a negative way, because we're not trying to spout anything but hope and confidence that you can build your life, and you just weren't told things. But one of the most stories that have stuck with me that happened to Chris and I is that 3 years ago, when we were crossing the United States, and we stopped in Missouri, and someone there wanted us to speak to a group. Now, we at that time didn't know where we were going, but when we got there, there was a gentleman that we found out we met afterwards, okay? And he was pretty active. He was a professor at a university, pretty active, wrote some interesting books. And he was in his mid-80s at that time. He and his wife came. Well, we began and we had this talk, and then Chris is realizing, because he offered to channel. I can't channel. I cannot channel. I cannot channel in this environment. What we did not realize at that time is that where we were brought was a library in a place that was very war-torn from the Civil War. And we did not know that. And it was too dangerous to open up as a channel. So we did talk, and then Chris had to make his apologies. I cannot channel at this moment. It's too dangerous to open up in a place like this. And then we continued our talk. Then after it was all over, the gentleman and his wife came up to us. And we talked about all kinds of things that we're talking about now. And he came up to us and he said, Chris, I didn't believe you were legitimate. I didn't believe it until you said you wouldn't channel. Because this is one of the most dangerous places to open up as a channel. He said, I have your exact same skill set. I've had it all my life, but I was younger in the 50s, and I would be killed. People were killed at that time. They started talking. He said, the only reason that I am here is that my guide pushed me to come, because he said, you're 85 years old, but you're not dead. If you want to start talking about yourself and your experiences to other people, it is safe to do so now. And that was the whole reason his guides wanted him to come, was not to see a successful channeler, but to see somebody, legitimate, and the information that is not new at all. But now it's okay to start bringing it out to help people. And he's pretty active, still, he was then still in his community, again, trying to talk more and bring out more information. But he was 85 at the time. And it's never left me, because, for me, it's easy to stand up and open my mouth. If you don't like me, dime a dozen, right? You don't like me, what do you say? It's a Tuesday.
It's another Tuesday.
Right, right, to all kinds of people. But, to really understand that before now, so if you think of where we've come from, that people really were killed for having these kinds of conversations. It was so not allowed. The dominating force was still so heavily present. So I just like to give that perspective, because as hard as it is right now, and as crazy as it is right now, we've had it worse. It's been harder. And so we are actually kind of moving in the right direction. People are growing and learning, even if you don't think they're awakened, you're looking at somebody, they were part of that outcry for change as well. And that we're going and we're moving in the directions that we're supposed to be moving in, because we deserve to have the right to learn these other skills which are going to take us into something more interesting.
Bravo.
Thank you.
Nice.
All right, thank you all for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you for staying.
Yeah, sure, I just get, look at my watch and think, okay, it's all right, just hang out, instead of leaving, so, no, appreciate it greatly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you guys be safe going home.
Thank you.
And we said, you know, I mean.